Okay, so you guys, this is part 2 of literal equations and formulas. So as you can see, we have a lot of famous formulas that you can see on the board here, right? So we have the perimeter of a rectangle, 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. The circumference of a circle, 2 times pi times r. The area of a rectangle, length times width. The area of a triangle, half the base times the height. We have the area of a circle, right? Pi r squared. We have the formula for distance, rate times time. We have the formula for Celsius, which is 1/5 Fahrenheit minus 32. Okay, so you guys, these are all what? Formulas. And what I need you to get is that each of these formulas are already solved. Okay, whatever the formula is equal to, that is what it's solved for. So this is solved for P, solved for C, solved for A, solved for A, solved for A, solved for D, solved for C. And what this lesson is going to be about, which is going to be on the EOC, which is going to be on your benchmarks, okay, is that they're going to ask you to take the formula that's here and just solve it for a different variable in the formula. Does that make sense? So right now this is solved for P. They may say, go ahead and solve this formula for W. Go ahead and solve this formula for the radius. Go ahead and solve this formula for length. Solve this formula for base. Solve this formula for radius again. Solve this formula for time. Solve this formula for Fahrenheit. This is one of the famous ones, okay? So what I need you to know is that formulas, literal equations and formulas, is just taking what you have and solving for a different variable than what you're given. Okay, that's what it is. So we're going to go over several examples together. And so every example that I write, that I bring up here, I want you to write on the board. So here we have distance. And so go ahead and let me see if I can just bring this over. Here we go. So write this down. You have, let's do these 3, okay? So say supposing we wanted to solve for rate, we wanted to solve for radius, okay? We wanted to solve for, no, let's solve for pi, because I don't want that to be similar to this. Let's solve for pi, and then I'll move this up for the next one. So here it's already solved for D. We want to solve for the radius. This is a super easy example, right? So if we want to solve for R, we need to move the T to the other side. So divide by T on both sides. Okay, that cancels. Bring down your R, and now radius is equal to distance divided by time. Okay, that's it. One step. Okay, it's the same formula, only instead of it being solved for D, it is now solved for R. Okay, let's look at circumference here. Okay, 2 times pi times r. Whenever they're right next to each other like this, okay, that means they're being multiplied to each other. 2 times pi times r. So if I want to get this pi all by itself, what do I need to move to the other side? The 2 and the r. How do I do that? By doing the opposite of what I was given. What's the opposite of 2 times pi times r? Divide. And I want to divide by what I want to move. What do I want to move? The 2 and the r. So we're going to divide by 2r, divide by 2r. They cancel on this side. Bring down your pi equals circumference divided by 2r. There you go. And you're done. Okay? So you guys, this was originally solved for C, and then we just solved it for pi. Okay? That's all this is. It's the same formula, just solved for a different element in the formula. Okay? Moving on. So let's bring down the area of a triangle. Let's bring it up. Okay. So let's solve for B. Let's solve for the base. Right now, this is solved for A. Okay. So that means we need to move the fraction to the other side. We need to move the height to the other side. Right. Again, this is 1/2 times the base times the height. Okay, and we need to get the B all by itself because right now it's solved for A. Now we have to solve for B. How do we move that fraction to the other side? How have we always addressed it since the beginning of the year? Multiply by the reciprocal, you guys. Flip it, right? Okay, those cancel. So 2 times A is 2A equals base times height. Have we solved for base? No. And notice I'm still modeling for you that I always circle the variable that I'm solving for. So it reminds me when I get to this part, okay, I wrote it, clean. What am I solving for again? Oh yeah, I'm solving for B, so let me circle that, okay? Is it solved for B? No. What do I need to move to the other side? The height, okay? So we're going to divide by what we want to move, which is the H, okay? And then B equals this whole thing. You can't actually do 2A divided by H. So it stays exactly that. Jay Sean, please sit up and wake up and smell the coffee and look up here, please, and take your notes. Here we go. And there you're done. Okay? So now we're going to take this one, and it's already solved. This is something that I made up. It's solved for G. We need to solve for D. Okay? So let me move that up just slightly. Okay? You can always, stop, rewind, and rewatch and go back and re-listen. Okay? And we're going to go over this in a second. Some more examples. Okay? So right now, this is solved for G, and we want to solve for D. Okay? Please sit up. So what do we have to do, people? We have to move this E to the other side. We have to move this M to the other side. We also have a negative symbol here. Are you writing this down? Okay. So we have to move the E, the M, and this. We have to deal with that negative symbol, right? So we have a fraction. Okay. How do we deal with that, right? We have to get rid of it first. How do we do that? By multiplying by whatever is in the denominator. So let's do it. What's in the denominator? The E. So we're going to multiply by E on both sides. Okay? And we bring down what we have left over. We have M minus D equals, what's G times E? GE. We can't actually do it, so it stays exactly that, GE. Okay? So have we solved for D? Nope, it's still there. So what do we need to move to the other side? We need to look for an easy addition or subtraction opportunity. So we've got this positive M. What's the opposite of a positive M? Negative M. So we're going to subtract M from both sides. Look at this shenanigans. Okay? Looks bananas, but that's okay. Bring it down. So now we have negative D equals, we can't actually do GE minus M, so it stays exactly that, right? GE minus M. We're going to have a ton of practice, you guys. We need to know this for the EOC. We need to know this for the benchmark. Here we go. Have we solved for D? No. That's a negative D. We have not solved for D, okay? That's negative D. How do you get rid of the negative? Well, even though it's not there, there's a 1 there. That's a negative 1 times D. So how do we get rid of the negative 1 or the negative? By dividing by negative 1. Watch what happens, you guys. You have to divide by negative 1 to all 3 terms. This is so good. Okay? Bring down your D. Okay? A positive divided by a negative gives you a negative GE. A negative divided by a negative gives you a positive M. And now you have solved for D. That's a wrap.